Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Neelam representing Sargent Systems Private Limited. Sargent Systems is the leading business software solution and business technology organizations. We provide solutions and service to pharmaceuticals, healthcare and life sciences. Today we are presenting the webinar on productivity quality management systems in pharmacovigilance operations presented by Mr. Ashish Bhandarkar. He is an institute pharmacovigilance professional who is having around 9 years of expertise in end-to-end pharmacovigilance operations from reputed organizations. He joined Sargent System as subject matter experts dedicated for our PV solutions. He will brief us about overall process of productivity and quality management in PV operations. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentations, please type them into the question box into your GoToWebinar control panel. Then at the last, we'll bring up your questions and query and discuss it wisely. Now, with further ado, we'll turn the time over to Mr. Ashish Bhandarkar. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neelam. Thank you for the quick brief of the agenda of the webinar and regarding Sargent. Hope everybody is safe at their places. Today's, as we just mentioned, today's main agenda of the webinar is the most integral aspect of the PV process, that is productivity and quality management in PV operations. As we all are aware about that, most of the PV service provider, they expend a lot of resources and their budgetary aspects on having the resource population in this section, productivity and quality management, and they try to purchase many of the additional tools for executing these important activities. So the points of emphasizing today on how we will avoid the pain areas while analyzing the productivity and quality management in PV operations, and what exactly the parameters which are needed for the implementation of paperless process in case of productivity and quality management in PV operations. So let's begin with some of the important aspects. So before focusing on the main points, I want to emphasize on one more important aspect, that is nothing but how a PV service provider gain a market reputation. As we all are aware about that, the benchmarking of the productivity and quality parameters is very much important to gain a particular market trust and the reputation for which is very much important for any PV service provider. There are a few of the aspects that PV service provider needs to achieve for fulfilling their market reputation. So first aspect is quality standard. So the important parameter here is benchmarking the quality standards of each ICSR processed and continuous improvement of the quality standards of as much as ICSR they process. So this is a continuous evolutionary process which has to be implemented by a particular PV service provider, in which they have to benchmark their quality standards. So whichever cases they are processing in their safety databases, those have to be perfectly accurate, and they have to benchmark a certain level of quality standards for each and every ICSR which they are processing into their database. And also, along with the raising number of cases, they should show a certain amount of improvement in the quality standards also. So this is one of the important parameter via which a PV service provider will gain the market reputation. The second parameter is productive team, which is actually one of the important aspect while recruiting the resources for running any PV operations, where any service provider, they have to recruit highly efficient and productive PV resources in their team so that they can deliver a particular agreed SLA for the quality and productivity, the SLA which will be agreed between the service provider and their client. So this is one of the important parameter. And next one is expert and efficient PV team. This is the integral aspect. So to run any PV operations efficiently, we need to hire the resources, like they are they do have some deep expertise of the subject, that is the PV case processing, and they should be perfectly trained for processing maximum number of ICSRs with maximum efficiency, so that if we try to train any particular associate or any particular resource for any particular process in the PV operations, so it is the resource should have the capability so that he or she will be able to deliver his or her best in the operations. So next point is SLA compliance. So every service provider is having a particular SLA agreement with their clients in the terms of percentage quality and percentage productivity. So if suppose any client is having expectations in SLA with the service provider is around 98% or 99% of quality, then that PV operation team, they have to maintain such amount of talent with them, such amount of resources with them to deliver this SLA. So they have to meet it mandatory in order to continue their agreement with the client. So these are one of the major important parameters through which actually a PV service provider they will be able to gain the trust of that particular client. It will also, if the PV service provider is complying with all these benchmarking aspects, it will ultimately result into renewal of their PV service agreements, their new SLA agreements. Then additional responsibilities will be also given to the service provider to process from the client. So in short, it will ultimately at the result of gaining more and more revenue for the service provider. So these are the one of the important aspects which we went through. But for complying all those aspects, the main basic integral process is every PV service provider needs to be like compliant is nothing but the productivity and quality monitoring. So they have to have an efficient productivity and quality monitoring system with them. So we will focus on the further aspects. Why the productivity and quality management system is necessary. So the basic need why it is necessary, we will go through some of the important points one by one. First one is integral aspect of meeting SLA. So just a few minutes back I have mentioned regarding the SLA agreement between the service provider and client, which is actually for meeting that SLA. The productivity and quality monitoring is important and mandatory and integral aspect for that PV service provider team to comply. So whenever they want to meet any SLA, they have to achieve that quality aspect. Second important point is resource and expenditure. So if the team strength of any PV service provider is huge, like you can say around 200 people are working in the team, and if they are involved into the core ICSR case processing, then it's very difficult to manage the productivity and quality of overall team. And the service providers in that case, they have to hire extra resources only for maintaining the productivity of quality data for this amount of team. So resource expenditure and the budgetary expenditure are actually one of the important aspects. Those will be like utilized in managing productivity and quality analysis manually outside the system. So it's like a costly aspect too. So productivity limitations. Whenever any small team is there with the PV service provider, they have to isolate one of their eminent like quality reviewer from the team, and then that person will be responsible for the productivity and quality analysis of overall team. So in that case, that person, like if that person is doing the quality review, he might lose his overall productive time because he will be investing his time on all those manual and lengthy cumbersome productivity and quality analysis activities of overall team. So what it results into loss of productive time of that particular quality reviewer or else any other additional resource. Fourth most important aspect is performance management. As we all know, the performance appraisals in most of the, like you can say, all of the service providers, they do on the basis of two major aspects like quality analysis for yearly, yearly quality analysis for that individual, and the productivity analysis of that individual. So all these productivity and quality analysis are basic backbone of the performance management for that individual in the PV operations. So all those productivity and quality management activities for that particular individuals are mainly dealt manually outside the system. So mainly the team managers and the team leaders who are actually working with the team, they have to do all these manual activities on sheets. They have to collect overall error data of that particular individual, overall productivity data of that individual. They have to calculate the yearly productivity, yearly quality, also case level quality, field level quality. There are multiple aspects of productivity and quality monitoring, which is actually, you can say, it's lengthy and time consuming, more on time consuming. So all those for having all those performance management parameters, the quality and productivity monitoring system is having an integral role. But next point is for meeting the audit, PV audit and client compliance. So whenever any service provider face any internal audit or any external on-site audit from the end of client or any regulatory authority, at that time, their inspector or auditor, they might ask for the additional data for productivity and quality of any individual of the team. So if the productivity quality data at the time, if it is calculated already, then it's okay. But if it is not calculated, and if it is required at the spot to the auditor and inspector, and at that time the difficulty will arise in front of the leader of that particular PV operation. So it is quite difficult that on one click or in very short amount of time, it is very difficult for the team to extract out the data of that particular individual. So at the time of audits and inspection, it will create a serious level of deviation if the data is not available. Second point, most important point, is accuracy of the data. So whenever any sheet is handled multiple times by a team leader or team manager, there might be a huge amount of possibility of creating any sort of error in calculating the overall productivity and quality of that particular individual. So that error will actually result into a serious deviation when this respective data will be presented to the auditor and auditor and inspector. Lastly, all of these points, what we conclude that there are a lot of manual efforts which are required for these Excel-based activities outside the system. They will consume a lot of time. There are a lot of formulas which we have to code into the Excel sheet. Like we have to use macros. So all these cumbersome activities actually present in the system, present outside the system, they have to deal with it, and these are very difficult for them. So up to this, what we understood, that productivity and quality management is very much integral aspect for every service provider, but how they are utilizing much of the traditional processes like Excel based monitoring outside the system, analyzing the data outside the system, it's quite lengthy and time consuming process. So just imagine if we have a safety system which is actually having an integrated solution for calculating the productivity and management, productivity and quality monitoring, then it would be immensely helpful for that particular service provider, that on one click, that the leader of that service provider, they will be able to fetch the data from the database itself on one click, overall productivity and quality data of whole team, or else a single individual out of that team. So we at Sargent System, we have our own safety database solution with us, that is also known as PVH, and it is deployed with multiple overseas and domestic clients. What we have done is we have developed a first-in-class solution in the system itself, which is incorporated or integrated into system itself, for measuring both of the quality and productivity data of a single specific user, or else multiple user, else overall team or overall project. So within the defined interval of time, we will be able to measure overall quality and productivity data as per the client requirement. and also for the performance appraisals. So there won't be any need of external data maintenance on Excel sheets or analysis on Excel sheets or using different kind of formulas for calculating the productivity and quality. There is no need of that, because system will itself calculate the percentage quality and percentage productivity of that particular individual within a certain interval of time. So we have two different solutions right now integrated into the database. One is productivity management solution, which is also known as workflow efficiency module. Second one is quality management solution, that is also known as quality checklist module. So moving towards the productivity management or workflow efficiency module. So the most important part is calculating productivity of any individual on weekly basis, daily basis, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. We know it's tracking the cases which are done by that particular user, which is a very difficult activity on the daily basis or weekly basis. So it is like a cumbersome activity for each and every team leader of that PV operations team. So what we have done is, in this workflow efficiency module, the client specific tagging of the user is already done. Like we can define the scope of number of users who were tagged for a particular client, and we can calculate the productivity data of each user from the system itself. So you just need to apply the date range. You just need to select the particular client in the database itself, and you just need to select a workflow that would be like data entry workflow or medic workflow or submission workflow or case intake workflow. So you can calculate the productivity data for each and every workflow which is existing into the system. So this is one of the important aspect of this solution. Second aspect is fetch the productivity data of all of the users in different workflows with the safety IDs. So it's not about the numbers only for productivity, but it's with the safety IDs also. So whichever number of cases that user has processed, we can track down those safety IDs also. So we can always cross verify with the case allocation and the productivity data that this much amount of cases we have allocated to that particular user, and this much amount of cases that user had processed on the same day, along with the help of the safety IDs also. So here we can track down the overall productivity data with safety ID for each and every workflow, like advanced, like data entry workflow, quality review workflow, and medical review workflow. Third important point is the audit trail data. Overall audit trail for 100% tracking compliance for fetching user specific data is existing in the solution. So as we have in the solution field specific and case specific audit trail data, so whenever during the audits or during the internal audits, whenever it is required, that the team leader or team manager, they can always fetch or pull out the audit trail data from the system itself. So whenever the productivity or any quality has been assessed from the system, that will be completely traceable. So we can always check out whoever the person who had fetched that data from the system itself. So this is also one of the important parameters. The fourth one is efficient case tracking tool. So tracking of accurate workflow status of any ICSR line into different workflows. So whenever we are fetching the data of productivity of any data entry user, if he or she had processed number of 10, suppose a certain number of cases, and if that person has completed his or her cases, then we can always track down the workflow tracking also. So from the system itself. So if those cases are processed, they must be routed to the medic user. So from data entry user, we can always track down whether those cases are routed correctly to that workflow or not. So fifth one is the most important aspect, as I just mentioned, the identification of underperforming users, which is actually the backbone for performance appraisals also. So we can always track down the individual who is having less amount of percentage productivity for that particular time interval, whether it is weekly, yearly, monthly quality or productivity data is concerned. We can always track down that underperforming user from the team. So along with that, we have easy export option into MS Excel for further analysis. If certain amount of as per the client requirement, if we want to go for further analysis of that particular productivity data fetched from the system, we can also do that in the Excel sheet. Quality management module. move towards. So this is one of the this is first in class modules actually developed by us, which is integrated into the solution itself, where where exactly the quality checklist is already existing into the system. So whenever a quality review person, he or she will start the quality review of the case, this checklist will open simultaneously on the same screen, and tab wise the quality reviewer can go ahead and he or she can mark the errors into this QC checklist itself. So we have also given an additional remark section in the quality check module itself, and all the errors, all the fields are available into this quality checklist module. So as far as the quality review aspect is concerned, every service provider, they are measuring both case level and field level accuracy or quality of their team. So overall user and case specific quality data is present in the form of percentage, and we can fetch in the form of percentage from the system itself. So we can always track down the quality data from data entry perspective also, and from medic perspective also. Quality data, now how we are how exactly in which format we are getting the data output from the system. So you can always see a tabular data in which the client name will reflect, safety case ID of that particular case will reflect, the tabs where the error was committed, and the fields in which the error was committed by the data entry users. So we can always track down those quality critical and non-critical errors from the system itself. Also, along with that, we have segregated all the type of errors into critical major errors and non-critical minor errors in the system itself. So, along with the system itself has the capability to segregate and calculate the percentage quality of that particular individual on the basis of critical errors and non-critical errors that person has committed to the system. So along with all those aspects, we can always track down the percentage quality data in case of overall project. It's not about the only like a team. It's about multiple teams. If they are working under a single project, we can always have that percentage quality data. So client specific segregation of quality data is also present into the system. There are around 327 data entry fields right now covered into the database. Those are all E2B and some of the non-E2B fields. And we have also segregated those fields tab-wise into critical and non-critical areas. So segregation of errors into critical, major or minor with non-critical rating score facility is also existing into the system. So user can always utilize, and QC user can also rate those critical and non-critical error in the QC checklist module itself by adding certain rating for that particular error. So as I just mentioned, we have a separate remark section into the QC checklist for additional remarks. Then the most important aspect, tracking of cases with no errors. It's not about the capturing only errors having cases. We can always track down the cases with no errors. So if as per the client requirement is concerned. So this is the QC checklist module. There are certain amount of benefits, like exclusive benefits for overall productivity and quality management process, which is integrated into the solution. The first one is it's an efficient quality tracking tool for identification of underperforming individuals, as I just mentioned earlier. The easy export option into MS Excel data. Along with that, we are progressing towards implementing an additional plugin in the system to fetch the data in the form of graphical charts, pie charts, and other images also. So whenever we try to implement, so if we try, if any user will be able to fetch the data in the form of graphs and charts, that particular team manager or team leader, they can directly copy those graphs and chart, and they can directly paste those graphs in their monthly meetings of quality and productivity with their clients. So they don't need to always go to the Excel sheets, and they don't need to analyze data manually. They don't need to entrap that data into particular pie charts or any table. So they can directly copy that pie chart, and they can directly take that pie chart into their slides. So it will be like more time saving activity for that particular user. Accurate auditorial data, I just mentioned regarding the how we trace out each and every stuff in the system whenever it is fetched from the system itself by other user. At the end, I just wanted to conclude regarding the productivity and quality management, as it is a potential backbone of productivity and quality metric system. So if suppose if we will be able to save a lot amount of time, a lot amount of number of resources if we try to generate the data from the system itself. So it will be like, I hope this system, this solution will be immensely useful for all those service providers who are having a huge number of team members and tracking their quality and productivity data. It's quite difficult for them right now because they are doing all the activities manually outside the system. But if they try to implement this into the system itself, so it will be so much easier for them and so much time saving for them. And to be compliant with the SLAs, it is also important uh, that all these points will be can be achieved if they try to implement this solution. So as we all know, as far as global compliance is concerned, global ICSR case quality can be measured in two ways. One is, as I just mentioned previously, one is case level accuracy, and second would be the field level accuracy. In the QC checklist module, we have already incorporated and integrated the formula of both of the quality aspects. One is cumulative case level analysis. You can see the formula on the screen, that is 100 minus total error score into 100 divided by total cases QC'd into total reference score, when total cases QC'd is equal to sum of the total cases with error and without error. So both the number of cases we have to calculate. Field level analysis is nothing but 100 minus sum of the total error value into 100 divided by 327. That is the overall number of fields which are present into our safety database, which includes both the critical and non-critical fields. So moving towards the most important aspect. So after having the analysis of quality and productivity data, any team leader or team manager, what they do is they do root cause analysis. Why this much quality or dip in quality has happened or dip in productivity has happened? They will try to identify the team members from the team, as I just mentioned regarding the identification of underperforming team members. So from the system itself, they will be able to fetch that particular name of the user who is not performing well. So they can always identify that user. They can have the one-on-one meetings with that user to know the root cause, exactly why these errors are happening. If any conceptual issue is there, if any technical aspect is there with that particular error, they can discuss with that particular individual, and they can provide that individual a vigorous training on the focus point which are exactly related to that error. So again we can, after having this vigorous training, we can go ahead for the re-evaluation of productivity and quality data for that particular individual, and we will see a definite improvement with that individual. So it's like quite a less time consuming process. Identification of underperforming individual is one of the most important aspect that solution is incorporated with, and uh, quality and training compliance is also will be also achieved if we try to analyze the root cause analysis with the help of the solution integrated data itself. So concluding to this, I just wanted to mention here a few of the points that right now, currently in the PV service provider industry, as much as I'm aware of, that many of the important teams, they are carrying over their productivity and quality analysis activities externally. They are marking the columns as their error heads. Then they are dividing those fields into critical and non-critical. They are maintaining again different Excel sheets. So for a single project, you can say for a team of at least minimum 20 individuals into the PV operations, it is very difficult that they are maintaining multiple sheets for only quality analysis and also for productivity analysis. They are maintaining different case activity trackers, case tracking trackers, workflow trackers. So it's like you can say cumbersome activity for each and every PV service provider. And if just imagine, as I just mentioned, if they get a solution which is actually integrated into the system, the PV database only. And in the PV database only, their users will be able to mark the errors, their users will be able to record the errors, and their users will be able to fetch the overall quality, that is case level and field level quality, from the system itself, along with the productivity of that particular individual. So overall, I hope you understood what exactly I wanted to convey. We have emphasized on the most, like you can say, painful area in any of the PV operations right now. We can understand how means how much amount of difficulties they are facing while maintaining all those aspects. So I hope this solution will be a resolution for them to comply with their SLAs and to have more and more business for them. So moving towards our just wanted to mention few lines about our organization. We at Sargent System, we have industry presence since 1998. We have our client pool across 50 plus countries, 400 plus project installations through overall pharma and regulatory GXP solutions. It's not about PV only. So many of the clinical trial related solutions are also deployed by us. There are around 60,000 plus global users are currently working on different solutions, and we have a business model of 95% customer retention. So our customers are fully satisfied and happy with our solutions, and we employ the strategy of cloud ready solutions. Actually, our PV solution is also a pre-validated solution which can be easily deployable within very less amount of time to with any prospect or client, and we follow strictly the quality strategies of ISO 9001 2015. So I think concluding to the webinar, I just wanted to mention that I'm really thank you for your valuable time, for attending the webinar, for showing your interest into this very much important topic of any PV operations. Now we will go ahead with the questions and answers. Over to you, Neelam.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish. Now we'll go ahead and take some time for question answers. So just a reminder for all attendees, please be sure to type the questions in your question box. Thank you.
Thank you for all of your time. Now we are checking out the questions, exactly what we are getting. Okay, we got one question right now. It's regarding the user specific quality and productivity. So how we are going to differentiate between multiple users if we are calculating the overall team's quality. Okay, so what I just mentioned earlier also while explaining in my slides, that we can fetch out the quality data of a single user also and of overall team also. So we can fetch out the data of both of the users, like both of the way, for single user and for overall team. So we can also track down a single case level quality also. So we can always, you can add the safety ID into the solution, and you can fetch the quality data of that particular case. So if the user had committed certain amount of errors in that case, you can always analyze that single case. So the data will be available from the system itself for one click, that wherever, like in which tabs actually that user had actually committed the errors, we can also track from the system itself. Okay, so we got one more question. So is it integrable? Is this quality tool is integrable with any other safety database or safety solution or not? I can say right now we have designed this tool which is actually integrated and incorporated completely with our safety solution, PV-Edge actually. So if you want to opt it, you can always go ahead for PV-Edge, but there are certain technical aspects that we need to check with our technical team if it is feasible to integrate the solution into other safety systems. So we will definitely get back to you, and we will let you know if it is feasible to implement the integration with other safety systems. Okay, so one more question we are getting. Okay, so once the case will be routed to QC, and if it is allocated to one QC and but other quality review person is reviewing the case, in that case, how and if any additional data is added while QCing the data, and in that case, how you are going to analyze the case. So it's like a quick run through process. Like once the case will be routed to particular QC, and if that QC is not available at his desk, or if he or she is on leave, then that case will be QC'd by another quality review person in the operations. The system will record the name of the QC user actually who has handled that case at the end into the listing. So this is most important aspect. So that person who had actually marked the errors into the system to that particular data entry user, that is important, and the same data will be captured along with the errors with the name of that particular quality review in the data which we are fetching from the system itself. So I hope I'm able to answer your question. Okay, we got one more important aspect. So it's regarding the demonstration of the solution. So yeah, you are most welcome for that. You can always reach out to us at Sargent's. I'll just show you. So we have an online presence of web www.sargent.com and sargent@sargent.com. You are very much welcome to reach out to us for any sort of product demonstration or solution demonstration. You can also ask for the overall PV age solution demonstration, and you can also ask for this quality and productivity module demonstration also. So you will be able to reach out. You can reach out to us on this email or web. You can always add your inquiry over there. Okay, I think we have received ample amount of questions right now. So thank you all of you. Thank you for your time and availability, and for showing the interest in joining this webinar. It's very much important for us too, and what I feel personally, it is very much important for all of the PV service providers also, if they try to implement the same. Thank you. Over to you, Neela.
So thank you, Mr. Ashish, for his wonderful presentations. So great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you for being here. Thanks again for joining us today, and hope to see you again. Thank you.